This man is a deadly assassin, lying in wait in an abandoned warehouse for the perfect time to kill his target. He spends days sitting on a chair looking out of the window to the house of his target for the perfect opportunity to strike. After spending 5 days with no sight of his target, he decides to go out to stock his groceries.
No one really wants to interact with a German tourist.
After making the purchase, he calls his handler to inform him of the situation. The handler tells him to quickly carry out the assassin in order to get paid. Hearing this, the assassin promises to carry out the task as soon as possible. But before returning to his empty hideout, he sits in front of his target's house observing passersby and the security guards stationed in front of the house. After getting a glimpse of their daily routine, he returns to his empty house and continues to monitor the activities around his target's house. Afterward, he sets up his sniper in preparation for the moment his target arrives. That night, he calmly brushes his teeth and lies down to sleep. But every 10 minutes, his alarm will awaken him to check on his target's home. After sleeping for a while, he wakes up to the sound of movements around his target's house. As he looks out of his window, he sees the target arriving with a stripper. So, he immediately brings out his sniper in preparation to shoot. With the sniper, he observes the target and follows all his movements, waiting for the right time to shoot. The target, unaware of the existence of the sniper, prepares to have a good time with his stripper. As the woman dances in front of him, the assassin makes up his mind to shoot as soon as his target sits on a couch. But the moment he pulls the trigger, the stripper suddenly dances in front of the target, causing her to take the bullet. Seeing that he has missed killing his target, the assassin prepares to shoot again, but the security guards in the house immediately closes the window, obstructing his sight. Seeing that his mission has failed, he quickly arranges his sniper into a bag and cleans all traces of himself in the room before running away. With his electric scooter, he flees the area before the police arrive. While driving away, he throws away some of his belongings and manages to evade all police vehicles. After driving far away, he abandons his scooter to walk on foot. First, he disposes his helmet into a river and then walks on foot to a grocery store to use their restroom. There, he cleans up himself, shaves his beard, and changes his clothes. Then, he sanitizes the restroom to remove all traces of himself. Afterward, he hails a cab and drives directly to the airport. Before entering the terminal, he disposes of his sniper in a waste bin and goes to the queue to board his flight. But while queuing, he notices a police dog staring intently at him, so he gets nervous and rushes to the restroom to clean up again. Then, he proceeds to queue and even presents a fake ID under the name of Felix Unger. His visa is approved, and as he prepares to board the plane, his handler calls to criticize him for failing to kill the target. So, he hangs up the call, destroys his phone, and proceeds to board the plane. While sitting on the plane, he notices a suspicious-looking man, so as soon as the plane lands, he immediately books another flight under a new identity. At the terminal, he sees the suspicious man also booking a new flight, so he changes his mind and decides to postpone his flight to the next day to avoid entering the same plane as the man. That night, he books a hotel room and sets a trap at the door that alerts him if anyone tries to sneak into his room. Then, he grabs a knife, waiting for something to happen. But nothing happens, so the next day, he boards another plane and arrives to his hometown in Dominican Republic. Then, he drives several miles to his house. At the gate to his house, he notices a man's shoe print on the floor and tons of smoked cigarettes. Seeing this, he grows suspicious and immediately pulls out a gun. As he runs into the house, he continues to notice shoe prints, which confirms his suspicion that an assassin has sneaked into his house. So, armed with a gun, he rushes into the house but finds no one around. However, he sees splashes of blood around the house, which lets him know that an intruder has infiltrated his house and done something to his girlfriend. Worried, he immediately dials his girlfriend's number, and after getting a response, he rushes to the hospital. There, he finds her in a coma with her brother looking after her. The girl's brother tells him that she has undergone surgery and the doctors are still monitoring for internal bleeding.
Oh, no. Shh, please, don't let her hear your voice. She needs sleep.
When he asks what happened, the brother tells him that a male and female killer had infiltrated their house and that their target was to kill him. But since they only found his girlfriend, they directed their anger to her. But she was able to fight them off, leading to her severe injuries. After she escaped from the house, she hid in a place and was able to see the two killers leaving in a taxi with a green top. After the brother narrates the incident, the assassin decides to watch over his girlfriend for the night. After a while, she awakens from the coma and begins to narrate her first-hand experience with the two killers. She tells him that they had held her hostage and tried to pry out information about him from her, but she had endured the torture without telling them anything. Seeing her pitiful condition, he makes up his mind to get revenge for her. So, that night, he returns home and digs out a hidden box of weapons. Then, the next day, he drives around the town, looking for the taxi that drove the two killers. His girlfriend's brother had told him that the taxi had a green top, so he drives around the city trying to find the taxi that fit the description. After searching for a whole day, he's unable to find the taxi, so he decides to use the easiest way. That night, he visits the taxi headquarters in the city and holds the manager captive. Then, he logs into their system to find the taxi that drove the two killers to his house. After finding info on the taxi driver, he takes the man's files and leaves. The next day, he waits for the taxi driver outside the station. As soon as the driver arrives for work, he stalks him and even pretends to be a passenger in order to get into his car. Meanwhile, the taxi driver is unaware of this. He unknowingly drives around the city with the assassin at the back seat. As he turns around to ask a question, he sees the assassin with a gun, so he becomes scared and hands over his wallet, thinking the assassin is a petty thief.
Oh shit, man. I just thought alguna moneda lo único que tengo.
But the assassin points the gun at him and begins to question him about the two passengers he had driven to a particular house. After remembering the two passengers, the taxi driver doesn't hold back. He begins to describe the features of the two killers. He reveals that he had picked them up from a private airport and drove them to a house. After waiting outside for them, they returned to the car with injuries. But he didn't question them. Instead, he drove them back to the private airport and they paid him for his service. While recalling this, the assassin tells him to drive to a lonely area, so he obeys and continues to narrate that when the two passengers returned from the house, the male's leg had a huge injury. However, he didn't question it. He drove them to the airport and continued his normal life as a taxi driver. After narrating this, the taxi driver even volunteers to answer any questions on the two passengers, but the assassin suddenly kills him and leaves. Later that day, the assassin books a flight under a fake identity and travels to New Orleans with the mission of finding the two killers who injured his girlfriend. As soon as he arrives in New Orleans, he rents a bus and drives to his secret storage unit to get some guns and a new identification card. Then, he changes the bus plate number before driving to a cleaning company where he pretends to be a contract cleaner in order to get some cleaning tools. After loading the bus with the needed cleaning equipment, he drives over to his handler's company and plans to pose as a cleaner to infiltrate the company. But while outside, he notices that a pass is needed to enter the building, so he waits for the right opportunity. As soon as a delivery van arrives, he gets an idea of how to infiltrate the place. First, he pulls out his tilted trash bin and pretends to rush in. Seeing him struggle with the trash bin, the delivery man offers to use his pass to open the door. He also helps with the elevator. Now inside the building, the assassin pretends to be a cleaner and waits for the delivery man to leave. Then, he pulls out his gun and infiltrates his handler's office. He finds the secretary and forces her to tie up the handler. He also directs her to tie up herself. Shocked at his sudden appearance, the handler claims to have nothing to do with the two killers who tortured his girlfriend. He reveals that the client who ordered the assassination was disappointed that the mission failed, so he ordered that the assassin be killed as punishment. They had sent two killers to his house, but since they didn't find him at home, they redirected their anger on his girlfriend. The handler criticizes him for returning to his home city after failing to kill his target. He even advises him to change his identity and hide in another country for some years to avoid being the target of the angry client. But the assassin ignores the advice and pulls out a nail gun. He tests the device on a laptop, and after seeing how it works, He threatens to use it on the handler, but the handler calls his threat a bluff and continues to advise him to leave the country before the angry client finds him. Hearing this, the assassin suddenly shoots him in the chest with the nail gun. Then, he pulls out his phone and offers to call the ambulance if the handler reveals information about the two killers. But things didn't go as planned. The old handler ends up dying quicker than anticipated without revealing any information. Disappointed, the assassin plans to kill the secretary and dispose of both their bodies. The secretary realizes his plan and makes a deal with him. She offers to reveal the identity of the two killers if he kills her without disposing of her body in an untraceable place. She tells him that her children need her life insurance, so if he killed her and staged it as an accident, the children would be able to claim her insurance payout. He agrees to her proposal and releases her. Then, he wraps up the body of the handler and puts it into his trash bin. After cleaning the office, he follows the secretary to her house. As they drive to her house, she tries to bargain with him to spare her life, but he ignores her. When he leaves to open the garage to her house, she tries to escape by screaming, but no one hears her. The assassin successfully opens her garage and drives in. While inside, she tells him the identity of the two killers and also directs him to a postcard that reveals the identity of the client who ordered his killing. After getting the important information, he snaps her neck and shoves her down the stairs to make her death look like an accident so that her children can claim her insurance payout. Then, he returns to his storage unit and incinerates the handler's body. Afterward, he drives to a bridge and disposes of the ashes without being caught. That night, he fumigates the bus and throws away the fake plate number before returning the bus to the rental company. Then, he travels all the way to Florida to find the two killers who had tortured his girlfriend. He arrives at the male killer's house and sees a group of men playing with a dog. However, he's able to identify the male killer after seeing him limping. So, he spends the entire day waiting outside the house for the perfect opportunity to strike. After waiting till evening, he notices the group of men leaving, so he stalks them to a casino. After watching them for a while, he returns to the killer's house. At midnight, the male killer returns home alone, leaving his friends. As soon as he enters his house, the assassin steps out to execute his plan. But the killer's dog begins to bark after seeing him, so he throws drugged food to the dog, who eats it without suspicion. After waiting outside for the dog to fall asleep, he enters the killer's house ready to kill him. But he's suddenly blindsided and tackled. It turns out that the killer had suspected his arrival. As they engage in a fight, the killer overpowers him and launches several punches on him. The assassin retaliates, causing the fight to grow intense. As they go back and forth exchanging blows, the assassin gains the upper hand and injures the man. Seeing this, the man pulls out a gun to shoot, but the assassin manages to escape to a room. During the escape, the killer recognizes his face and walks towards the room to kill him. But the assassin outsmarts him, grabs a gun, and shoots through the door, killing him. The sound of gunshots awakens the drugged dog, who immediately runs to seek revenge for his dead owner. But the assassin escapes from the house and locks the dog in the garage. Then, he lit up a cocktail and throws it towards the house, causing it to burn to the ground. Then, he leaves to take revenge on the female killer who participated in torturing his girlfriend. He boards a flight to New York City using a fake identity. There, he rents a car and drives to the female killer's address. He spends the entire day waiting outside her house for the perfect opportunity to strike. Late in the night, he sees her leaving the house, so he stalks her to a high-end restaurant where he sees her entering with a man. As soon as her companion leaves, he enters the restaurant to confront her. She immediately recognizes him and accepts her fate to die. So she orders an expensive alcoholic drink and asks if he has killed his handler. He gives a nod in response, so she leans back in satisfaction that the handler is dead.
I'm suddenly regretting not having Haagen-Dazs with every meal.
When the alcohol arrives, she takes a drink and begins to confess that she had only taken orders from her client and that there was nothing personal with what she did. She claims to have objected to the torture his girlfriend went through and also reveals that her target was him. But when they didn't find him, the male killer decided to torture his girlfriend. After hearing this, the assassin still insists on taking revenge, so the female killer accepts her fate and follows him to an abandoned park. While walking down the stairs in the park, she strips and falls, but immediately pulls out her hand for him to help her up. Instead, he shoots her, causing her body to fall down the stairs. As soon as it lands on the floor, he notices that she had been concealing a knife in her hand. He immediately leaves the park and boards a plane to Chicago to kill the client who had ordered everything. While researching the man, he discovers that the man is a billionaire, which makes it harder to kill him. So he waits outside the man's house to monitor his movements. As soon as the man drives out of the garage, the assassin pretends to be a passerby and slips into the house through the garage. However, he discovers that the door to the house is locked, so he takes a picture of the lock and immediately searches the internet on how to clone the keycard to the house lock. After placing an order for a cloning device, he goes to the bank to transfer all his money to his Dominican Republic account under the name of Jefferson. Then, he goes to buy a gun from a local trader. As soon as his clone package arrives, he books a gym session on the same floor where the client lives. Then, he steals a worker's pass from a cleaner and clones it. Later that day, he infiltrates the building using the cloned keycard and manages to enter the client's room. The client doesn't recognize him and claims to know nothing about him, so the assassin shows him the postcard he had taken from his handler's secretary. After seeing the postcard, the client suddenly remembers that the assassin was the one who failed to kill the target.
Wait.
As soon as he remembers this, he begins to confess that he has nothing to do with the two killers who tortured his girlfriend. He reveals that after he heard about the failed mission, he had ruled it as a human mistake. However, the handler had convinced him that the assassin needed to be punished for failing to kill the target. The handler had requested an additional $150,000 to kill the assassin in order to tie up all loose ends. Since the assassin had failed to kill the target, the police could investigate the attempted murder and trace it to him, so they had to kill off the assassin. The client continues to explain that it wasn't his idea to send the two killers. After hearing this, the assassin chooses to believe him. But before leaving, he warns the client to never reveal his identity to anyone.
But I promise, I'll find something fitting.
The client agrees to this, so the assassin leaves and travels back to the Dominican Republic, where he takes care of his recovered girlfriend.